Personality is more than just genes. A large part of who we are and the decisions that we make are influenced by the culture that we grew up in.
We believe that culture will define how individuals see themselves and how they relate to others. A family's cultural values shape the development of the child while growing up by knowing the self-concept. In early age, child will try new things with enthusiasm and approach peers and adults with confidence, whereas other children seem to believe that they are incapable of succeeding in many situations.
Let's get started by talking about individual versus collectivist culture. Individualism focuses on the individual, just as the name implies. People living in an individualist environment prioritize self-improvement of themselves and satisfying their own needs before the rest of those of their community. Why? Well, individualist cultures believe and teach that if everyone takes care of themselves, then the entire group should thrive and then become self-sufficient. Individualist cultures put a lot of stress on independence and self-reliance. Those that live in this type of culture tend to be very self-sufficient and driven workers, but are weaker whenever it comes to collaboration and teamwork. They usually struggle handing off responsibility. Now, in general, these people usually distance themselves psychologically and emotionally from one another, since working with others is more of an option than a requirement for success. In the media, we often see individualist characteristics associated with men, people in urban settings, and the Western culture. So what about collectivist cultures? People living in a collectivist environment are taught to focus on the needs of the group before they focus on their own individual needs. They associate their identity to the role and function in a larger group. These groups can include families, teams at work, or the entire nation. Collectivist societies teach people that everyone will benefit when they start to look out for one another. Harmony and interdependence between group members is highly valued among people in this type of environment. Now, unlike their individualist counterparts, members of collectivist cultures tend to be extremely close to each other psychologically and emotionally. Now, this can create an us versus them mindset that separates or looks down upon people that are outside of their group. Collectivist characteristics are generally associated with women, people in rural settings, and Eastern culture.
So, the point is how culture can affect the development of self. In studies and interpretation of the group, we found out the different approach of culture in the self. In video, there are studies that include not only the society and even the boundaries of countries. It actually talks about the individualists and collectivists, wherein individual by coping of the culture you need to focus more to their self, because it believes that if the individual learn to take care, then the group must thrive and then become a self-sufficient.
Things are instinctual to all humans. The things we learn to approach and avoid through culture appeal to a higher need. One example of this is something called uncertainty avoidance. The uncertainty avoidance of a culture is a measure of how that culture responds to novelty and uncertainty. How does a culture deal with ambiguity? Are changes welcome in the nation, or does the culture approach stable traditional rules and customs?
Based on the videos and photos, our lives is shaped by our cultural context, the influence of the culture, how we think about the world, our social relationships, health and lifestyle choices, community engagement, political actions, and ultimately, our own and other people's well-being. The culture somehow help us define how individuals see themselves. Our cultures shape the way we work and play, and it makes a difference in how we view ourselves and others.